So this year marks 50 years since someone was spared prison and instead given a community sentence in England and Wales. Since then, offenders have carried out tens of millions of hours of unpaid work, such as removing graffiti and clearing wasteland. But the question is, do the men and women cleaning up our communities ever clean up their acts? I have the pleasure of speaking to Stephen Odeyemi today. He is a community payback operations manager who's also a Christian. And we're going to be talking about how his faith moved him to support people on their journey to redemption. Stephen, so good to have you today. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you for inviting me to your program.
It's lovely to be speaking with you today, especially about this kind of topic. Tell me, how I kind of described the community payback. Is that what it is, or am I missing out on something? Just so our listeners get a really good understanding of what it is.
Well, you are right in some regards, but it's a little bit wider than that. Yes, it's about people repaying for the offences that they've been found guilty for, but it is also an opportunity for people to appreciate the community where they live and and what they do in that community. And while they are repaying back for the offences they've committed, it is also about creating the opportunity for change within themselves, for them to be better integrated into the community where they live and, appreciate themselves as well, much better, if that makes sense.
Completely. It's about them, kind of fixing up and reintegrating as opposed to punishment, so to speak. I
Yes,
get that.
indeed.
So we're seeing the hashtag CP50, is it?
Yes.
Celebrating 50 years. Why is community payback worth celebrating?
I think community payback has been running for 50 years. And as you said in your introduction, we've given the opportunity for loads of people on probation to carry out their orders in the community. And it's about not just the people who have been given court orders, but it's also about the people who have worked with people on probation, how much effort we put into it to create those opportunities for them to engage better in the community, help them find, for example, better quality employment, help them to understand themselves much better. Yes, it's about carrying out their hours, but I think what is really critical is the opportunity for change that we create for them. And I think that we've been doing that for about 50 years. And I think that is really, really important.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Tell me, what was it that made you want to work in this field with offenders?
Actually, funny enough, that is a bit of an interesting question because my background is more, well, academically, I come from a science background. I've
Okay.
got qualifications in a lot of sciences. But it's almost like, I don't, maybe the job pulled me into it. I don't know how to explain it. I think one of my strengths is that I'm good at listening to people. And listening to people, being supportive in some ways. I found it rewarding in a way. And it just seems to, just doing that, just seems to be creating more opportunities, opening more doors for me to do more of that. So I would say it's almost like the job called me rather than me looking for it, because I think more scientifically, um, which sometimes it gets me into a little bit of a conflict. But you know what? Conflict is also an opportunity for growth. So it's
This is very
really,
true.
yeah. So I think it's the job that's calling me into it, meeting people, supporting people, engaging with people, listening, being compassionate, but also developing that temperance towards offending. It's all in there. I think it's just part of who I am, I suppose.
Right. And you're a Christian as well. You don't
Oh,
hide that.
absolutely.
How does your faith kind of shape your relationship with the men and the women that you work with?
That is a question that I sometimes think about. And faith to me is about working your best, doing your best, and leaving the rest to God. So what I try and do is, obviously I spend time reading the Bible, and I try and take on the characteristics that are there for all Christians to take on. Being supportive, being engaging, not just to the offenders, but also to my colleagues that work in the service, because we work as a team. And, you know, doing all of that, you have to be honest and truthful about who you are. They see you for who you are. And in that way, I don't know, just being who you are in your faith, in your belief in, and with your relationship with God coming into your work, it just falls out of you and they come across it. And most of the time, well, you're a Christian, aren't you? And I go, yes, I am. And they nod their head and carry on working. And then a lot of the times, it actually we kind of draw closer in teamwork, and we are able to resolve issues easier, better. So I don't know what else to say about it. It's just me being who I am. Maybe I walk around with a placard. He's a Christian on my head. I don't know, but people do see it. They kind of know that I am without me not having to say a word and stuff. It's about the work that I do. It's about the passion of it, and people can see that I believe in God. I believe in and the salvation of His Son. It really is
Yeah,
just like that.
it's the Bible talks about by their fruit you shall know them. So obviously
Exactly.
they're seeing something in you, which is letting them know.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is kind of like a typical day for you?
Oh, well, as you said, as you know, my job is more about operations now.
Mhm.
So it's about making sure that we have all the necessary resources to make sure that all our projects are running effectively, supporting our offender managers where they need to be supported with putting people on our projects, and so it's very busy, encouraging people, supporting people with working through this fairly intense moment in probation, because as a few people are quite aware of, there is a lot of resource issues in probation at the moment. And so trying to build a team that has some degree of resilience at a very tough time is
Mm.
what my work, especially with my fellow managers in my team in the west of London, we spend a lot of time doing that. And yeah, developing, opening projects that have meaningful work, meaningful tasks so that it helps to create that opportunity for improving the quality of their life. If a pop is doing well on their project, then I know that that project is of value to the community. So that is where a lot of my work is every day, keeping it running, making sure we have good tasks that helps to support our offender managers, creating that opportunity for change.
Sounds like you're very, very busy. Tell me, what's kind of the most fulfilling element of working as part of the community payback?
People embracing the opportunity to be more integrated in the community that they're from. People taking that step towards change. I mean, it's important that people also understand that a lot of people on what we call the community payback order or requirement, depending on which perspective you're coming from, um, it is from people who may not be able to pay simple fines, for example.
Mm.
So, and then of course you have those who create much more serious offences. So there's quite a variety of people, a variety of risk issues involved. But for me, what I would say is the most rewarding is when those people who are in the more serious category take up that change, when they engage well with their offender managers, with their supervisors, they're engaging well, and then they're asking questions. Okay, how do I change? How do I stop doing this and do that? being able to signpost them to other supporting organizations or programs in the community, then it's difficult to explain it in great detail, but it is seeing that progress. It's about seeing sometimes, yes, they're making big progress and big change, but sometimes they may slip up and you're there to pick them up and keep them going. But it's that change moving forward, and then you see them 2 3 years later down the line, you bump into them on a bus or on the road, and they come up to you, they shake your hand, and you're wondering as an individual, who is this person I'm saying hi as? And then they tell you, oh, you know, I met you on the project when I was doing community payback, and they tell you what it is that you did then that enabled them to move forward. And in some ways, that is really motivational for me as an individual to see that not just myself, but the people working in probation, working in community payback, the supervisors, the offender managers, the operational managers, we're all working together to create these opportunities, and we're able to push them out there, and people are able to engage and then make those changes. It really is very rewarding. I mean, there are a number of people out there that are really doing well, and when you know their background and you take a step back just to reflect on it, you think, wow, this person has committed a really serious offense 4 or 5 years ago, but see where they are now.
I was actually going to say, you've led us nicely to that, obviously without giving away details and names. Is there a story you could share with us on someone who you've actually witnessed change for the better?
Yes. Okay, we'll create a name. We'll call him Smith. If so, just for your viewers to know, Smith is a fictional name to a real person. So obviously, don't want to reveal his identity. But he was an individual that within over a period of 3 years, when I was working in South London, he kept coming back on. He started off from simply being in possession of illicit drugs, and then he came back selling them, and then he came back for fighting and stuff. And then, you know, and each time I met him, I was just thinking, oh, what's happening with you? How are you doing? What are your plans? Just simply talking to him about his plans, what he wanted to do, and saying, yes, you were on a difficult road, but it's just a difficult road. If you've got the stamina, if you've got the strength, you can still get to important milestones in that journey. And we had that conversation a number of times. I signposted him to some other organizations, especially about developing certain skill sets. And, you know, I bumped into him, I think, just before the pandemic, and he is now an area manager for a well-known store. And actually, it's in London Bridge now. And, you know, and he was asking me if we wanted to work closely with him in terms of helping to give other POPs, people on probation, the opportunity to change if they're ready to embrace that. I must say, I was really surprised, because while I was having that conversation with him, I was a little bit doubtful if he was ready to embrace those opportunities. But seeing that he did,
wow.
You know, Smith really, sometimes when I'm feeling a little bit frustrated with myself, my colleagues, or the system, he gives me motivation. He enables me to stay focused. You know, people like that, you know, very good success stories like that. It really is helpful.
That's brilliant. Do you guys have any say in sentencing, or no?
Well, you need to know probation from a wider perspective, because when a person has been found guilty for an offence, then there is probation then would come in and make recommendations of what sort of order or what sort of punishment is applicable to this individual. So we start the process. This is probation. It's a different aspect of probation.
Yeah.
They make those recommendations. And then, yes, community payback is one of those one of the 12 standard requirements that can be made. And then we start, as in, when I say we, I mean community payback, that aspect of probation, then starts to engage with that individual, in most cases, 3 to 5 days after that sentence has been issued. And then we start the work there, moving forward. Yeah.
I'm with you. So if someone was listening right now, what would be your message to somebody who for the first time was maybe considering, getting a job in community payback? What would you say to them?
I would say to them, remember that probation, community payback is about creating change for people, creating opportunity for people to view themselves positively. And one of the key assets, key skill that you need to have is being able to listen, and listen effectively to individuals. And if you had that skill set, then certainly come and work in community payback, come and work in probation. There are loads of opportunities there, from being a project supervisor to being a offender manager, and there are other jobs there as well. Please come on board. It is really, if you understand and value people, it really is a very rewarding job. I would even call it a vocation rather than a job, really, because you have to have a passion for it. Creating
and a love of people.
Yes, you need to have good people skills, essentially. And then we will then obviously give you the support, the training, the backing that you need to be able to deliver what needs to be done. Because remember, one of the first things that we must remember is that it is a form of punishment first, but then you are helping to create opportunity for change. I've been saying that word a number of times now, haven't I?
well, ultimately, that's really what it's about, isn't it? It's an opportunity for
Yes.
change, and letting people know, or reminding them that they're not written off because they made a
That's
mistake.
right.
You can turn it around, which is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Stephen, thank you so much for your time. If someone is kind of interested in learning more, how would they do so?
There is a number of contacts via our websites on the internet. You can make inquiries from there. And I think actually that would be the best way, because, as you know, the National Probation Service covers both England and Wales.
Yep.
And so, yeah, make that contact via there. There currently is a recruitment program growing ahead. So now would be a good time, if you have any interest in becoming an offender manager or a project supervisor. Now would be the best time to go on the internet and have a good look around.
Brilliant. Stephen, once again, thank you so much for your time. Have a brilliant day.
And you too. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.